What's up, everybody? Noble Comics here. Going to talk about today the top 10 anime universes that you would want to live in. Though, really, it's going to be a worst to best, 10 list of what I think are the worst up to what I think would be the best to live in, limited by the stuff that I've seen and kind of have an understanding of. And also, a little thing to note is that we're thinking more so of like universes to live in order to like be the main character and have powers and stuff, because obviously there's some anime that's just completely normal, like a normal world to live in where there's no threat or danger or anything. But what's the fun in that? We want something a little bit more exciting. um so let's get started with number 10, which I think would be the Attack on Titan universe. If you guys have seen it, you know it's pretty brutal. It sucks. It's not really fun for anybody. uh Pretty terrible, and the abilities there, say having Titan abilities, being able to turn into a Titan, is not even a good power set that you'd want to have, because it's just going to make you a target. You're just a huge destructive Titan and everyone wants to kill you. It's not subtle in any way. It can't really help you in any way, except, to fight other Titans, I guess. And it's not really easy to obtain. Overall, probably the worst one you could be in. No real upsides to it. Um, Solid number 10 spot. Coming in at number 9, we have the Darker Than Black universe. Now, if you haven't seen this, I'm not too surprised. It's kind of an underrated anime. Totally should watch it if you've never seen it, though it's kind of hard to find. But definitely give it a watch if you're not familiar. But the universe here, where most people live, is in this city surrounded by a giant wall, because outside this wall is this sort of cosmic anomaly that ever since it showed up is causing lots of problems. So it's not super desirable, but you definitely have a normal life. But what are your possibilities of getting powers and being powerful and everything like that? Well, we have something called contractors, and these are people with special abilities that come with a price. Every time you use your power, then you have to do some action afterwards to pay the contract, and it's kind of a compulsive thing you have to do. And it may be something as simple as like eating a flower, or you might have to like break one of your own fingers or something like that. They're just random contracts that you have to do after you use your powers. Now, you also are sort of like an emotionless, completely logical killing machine. So that's also upside or downside, depending on how you see it. And becoming a contractor is not really your choice. It's just sort of like you're not really a human. You're just this thing that appeared after this big event happened. So, probably not a great universe to live in. There's potential to have cool powers, but there is definitely a drawback with them, and they're not readily available to obtain. So that's why it's sitting here at number 9. Moving on to number 8, we have the Full Metal Alchemist universe. Now, it is a pretty rich and lush and beautiful universe, lots of cool stuff going on, and your potential for powers is really in the form of alchemy. Now, this is also something that it seems that you have to sort of be born with, though obviously that's not totally the case. But the ability to have alchemic powers uh, is pretty nice. You can turn lead to gold or whatever you want to do. You do have to abide by the laws of equivalent exchange, but the power potential is pretty high, even though the typical person, it's probably not going to be super high, and the typical user, you're going to have to, draw your transmutation circles on the ground, and it's not going to be quite as snappy and dynamic as the high-end users. But power is possible. Probably not too bad of a universe to live in, though there are some pretty dark and crazy stuff happening behind the scenes a lot of the time. Moving on to number 7, we have the My Hero Academia universe. And this is one that I think anyone who likes this type of action anime is obviously going to want to live in. It's where most people have powers, right? So the common person can become a superhero in their own right. They can go to school to be a superhero, fight crime. That does make it a pretty hectic, chaotic world, lots of supervillains running around, but you have your own powers to be able to fight back. The downside is that your powers range pretty heavily from completely useless to pretty dang powerful and useful. So you probably will have powers, though who's to say how useful it'll actually be. And also, it's a pretty dangerous world. Like I said, there are a ton of super villains lurking around. But as far as just good, fun universe to be in, with readily available powers, yeah, it's a solid number 7. Nothing wrong with it. Moving on to number 6, you have the JoJo universe. And I'm willing to admit this is probably the one that I know the least about. I haven't watched very much. But the stands in JoJo's, what you're mainly after, right? You want a stand. Now, the downside is they're not super easy to obtain, but you can obtain it if you do the right things. You can actually get a stand. The downside is you kind of have a similar issue of it's not super reliable as far as if it's going to be good or bad. Now, the reason this ranks above something like My Hero Academia is I think that the output potential is a lot higher, right? You do have to go through a bit more hoops to get your abilities, but once you have them, the potential's pretty high. You could have a guy a stand who just like punches, but you could have one that freezes time, for example. So the payoff potential, I think, is a lot higher than what I've seen in My Hero Academia. So that's why JoJo's Bizarre Adventure gets a solid number 6. Moving on to our top 5 best anime universes that you would want to live in. We are heading to the west a little bit to go to the Avatar: The Last Airbender universe. Now, it is very a beautiful, idyllic world to live in. Very scenic. And not too complex, right? You have 4 elements. A certain amount of the population are benders. They can manipulate one of the 4 elements. And it's pretty safe most of the time. You do have aggression from the Fire Nation to look out for, and I'm thinking mainly about not including anything from Korra, just the main Avatar universe. Kind of, I think how the majority of fans picture it. But you got the 4 elements. There's a okay chance of you having some bending abilities, which is nice. And a good thing about that is everyone's pretty much on the same playing field. You can obviously master your element by how much time you put into it. So there is sort of this chance of getting it, and then also a skill and hard work component of being able to master it. But for the most part, everyone's like on kind of the same playing field. Just because you have fire doesn't mean that you're going to wipe the floor with everybody else, right? If you're an earthbender, you know that should some bending battle, take place, you can at least hold your own. And that kind of goes for all 4. So a good universe, I think, for the average person, not too dangerous, good potential to get powers, and also a good element of it that relies on you to be able to sort of reach your upper limits of those powers, which is always nice to have that opportunity. Going on to number 4, we have One Piece. Now, this was for a while my number 1, but as I thought about it more, it kind of slid down the list a little bit. We are in the world of One Piece where there is quite a few different avenues to get abilities. Now, I'll say the world itself is it's very interesting. It's very dynamic. There's a lot going on. It is pretty dangerous, especially the further on you get into the Grand Line. But if you just wanted to stay in the safe part and just hang out, you could. It would still be kind of dangerous just because there's dangerous people and you got to worry about pirates and criminals and the government and whatever else. But for the most part, it seems like a pretty fun world that you'd want to live in. And like I said, a lot of potential for power. If you're just a regular human with no special abilities, you can reach a very high level of strength through hard work. You see that with like Zoro, or you see that with Mihawk, Shanks. But also, you have people who can, aside from just, say, like sword skill or something like that, you can master Haki, the 3 different forms, each giving you different abilities of varying levels of power. That can let you go toe-to-toe with the most powerful Devil Fruit users out there. And that's probably what you would want, right, in the One Piece universe, is you do have the Devil Fruit, which is a little bit of chance to be able to get your hands on one. But if you could and you consume it, then there's also a bit of chance of what power you're going to get, because you could get a super sucky power, like the human fruit, or that just turns you into a human, so if you're already a human, it does nothing. Or you could get a Logia type power, where your body becomes an element like fire or electricity, and that puts you into the upper echelon of all people in the universe, pretty much. So a lot of potential there. fun universe, but also like with some of these you'll notice going up, it has a lot of hard work element to it that you can put in to increase your power, no matter what kind of person you are. Into the top three now we have the Naruto universe. Now, this is an interesting one because it is almost entirely hard work driven, though obviously not completely. Because everyone has chakra, but not everyone has the ability to master it, or not everyone has the reserves to become an actual ninja like a lot of the Naruto crew, but everyone at least has that potential starting out to be able to achieve that. And even if you can't manipulate your chakra and use it, you can still become a taijutsu master, like someone like, Rock Lee or Might Guy, and we see how powerful they can become. But if you can master your ninjutsus, then it really just opens up this Pandora's box of abilities. I mean, the ability mastery, the unique abilities that you can create for yourself, the diversity of what you can do is so crazy. You can do so much depending on who's your family, what are you specializing in, air type, fire type, whatever it is. There's so much there that you can obtain through hard work, mastery, being taught, that it's really just an open world for you to go explore. Now, it is dangerous, right? There's a lot going on behind the scenes, and a lot of people seeking, corruption and pain and all this stuff. But I think it's worth it for the amount that you get out of it. Yeah, so solid number 3 spot. Looking at number 2, we have the Dragon Ball Z universe. You knew it was going to be up here. You probably thought it was going to be number 1, but it's not. It is number 2, Dragon Ball Z. Now, the reason this is so high is you've seen that I'm trying to kind of drift away from chance-based into more hard work-based, that you have more control over your own power, and nowhere is that more true than the Dragon Ball Z universe. Now, it's a dangerous world, right? If you're a regular human, it's a very dangerous world. You're getting killed and brought back to life like every other week. But if you are a regular human, you can achieve power levels way above what anyone would think possible. Look at Tien, look at Krillin, look at Master Roshi. They can shoot lasers, throw destructo discs, survive things that a regular human should not be able to survive. And they are the lower power level people in the Dragon Ball Z universe. But even those people can achieve a pretty high level of power. But if you happen to be born as, say, Namekian or a Saiyan or something like that, then obviously the sky's the limit with how powerful you can be. You can become much more powerful. But yeah, the universe itself is very interesting. It is kind of always in peril. But it seems like a fun little world to be in, and there's pretty much a guarantee that you can have powers if you're willing to put the work in, which is kind of what I like about it. And finally, number 1, we have the Pokemon universe. Now, I know you're shocked. You're thinking, how can this be? Number 1, Pokemon? Absolutely. It's a very safe universe. For the most part, you're not getting attacked. Your Pokemon's getting attacked. You're pretty much safe. It's a very unique, engaging, wonder-filled world out there that you can just run out your front door and go explore. There's a lot out there to see, though there are some dangers. And then also, there's a little bit of chance in it, but it's really it's a chance-driven world that you have some degree of control over, right? You can go out and seek out and catch these Pokemon. If you're dedicated enough, you can make your team, you can make them strong, you can bond with them, and you can become the champion one day. You can collect them all. But really, there is so much to do. There's so many possibilities to gain power while still just being a regular person. Because again, this is kind of a thing where everyone is sort of on even footing with. They all start from square one. They all are catching their own Pokemon, training them themselves, becoming the best. And if you've played Pokemon, you know how fun that is to go in there on your own, train, work up to be the very best that you can. So that's it. That's my top 10. Let me know what you guys think. What is your number 1? Let me know in the comments down below. And I'll see you in the next video.